I'm a man of the people. It's true. I remember in my old apartment building, the couple across the hall, they had this door that opened out into the backyard. And when they moved in, they put up this partition blocking the yard off from the street. And I was offended. Not personally, but sort of on behalf of the people of Portsmouth who might be walking by. See, we were never in the backyard because we used to sit out on the front step almost every night and, drink, but also interact with the public. Meeting strangers and meeting strangers' dogs, which was even better. And I wanted that for my partition-loving neighbors, too. I wanted them to really live at street level, like we were doing. What I guess I'm saying is that not only am I a man of the people, I'm a man of the people who wants to make other men and women of the people. People of the people. But I don't live in that apartment downtown anymore. I live in the country with mostly trees and birds and dogs and babies for company. And I've been thinking about how to best embrace the spirit of populism from here. Real populism, not like Donald Trump populism. Which is why I started telling podcast listeners to just call me up. Okay, alright, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you. Can I be heard? Can you hear me?
Yeah,
and it's
I
recording,
can hear you.
And everything's
This
good?
works.
Great.
I wired up a little rig that would allow me to start recording my Skype calls, and I started holding office hours. Announced, without warning on social media every couple of days. Alright, who am I talking to here?
My name's Taylor. Or Olivia, either one. I just asked you on Twitter about this 5 minutes ago.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Okay.
But just to get out of the way, not to be that person, but the fact that I'm actually talking to you is kind of like a shell shock because I've been watching your media for 10 years or something. So that's pretty cool.
So what happens when you just tell people to call you up with no plan, no questions in mind, no idea who will be on the other line when you pick up? What kind of story do you find? I mean, I know one thing we're going to find. The spirit of democracy. But what else? Welcome to the last podcast, Office Hours. I'm your host, Zach Little. Today's episode is a collection of some of our first few calls. So what's going on with you? What's new?
I don't even know where to start from because we've never spoken, so I don't know.
This is Anton, who called in from Kiev, Ukraine.
Congratulations on being a dad now. That must be
thank you.
Great. Yeah.
So far, it's pretty good.
Cool.
I'm worried about the later in life stuff, but I've got a while.
Yeah. I mean, at the very least, you'll probably be a cool dad, which is half the job, I think.
Yeah, but I think being a cool dad can sometimes, it can make...
It can backfire.
Yeah, I'm not sure, and I think there are so many different ways it can backfire, and there are some good ways that it can backfire.
See, I'm losing you.
Literally or logically? It was the first one, but he called back. What have you been up to lately?
Not too much, to be honest. Just working,
What do you do?
I run a mail insertion machine for a living, which is about as exciting as it sounds.
Hold on. I just want to be clear here. Mail.
Yeah.
Wait, did you say mail insertion machine?
Yeah, letters.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, MAIL, not MALE.
No,
Two very different jobs.
That one's me. That's what I am.
Okay. This is Chris from Canada. That's kind of cool. I'm always interested in that. I'm working with a guy who used to do grocery flyers.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah.
And it's a lot of, it's fun to see, where it comes from, where the basic stuff
Yeah,
from.
yeah, it is because like on the one like until I got the job, it never even occurred to me that this like is a thing that people do. But obviously, like nobody's putting all those letters you get by hand, right? Like you get like so many. There's no way every single company's doing it all by hand. And no, it turns out that that's not the case.
You know, I mean, until now, I guess I did sort of think it was all happening.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
What are the pitfalls of a mail insertion machine? Like, where does it go wrong? What's the thing you have to do to recalibrate the machine every day?
It's always the paper. It's always, you know, the machines are like, they're fine. You know, they have their problems, but I never feel like complaining about the machine because it's always the paper. Man, paper is just the worst. Whenever you have to work with it, it's just awful. It's like it curls up with the slightest bit of humidity. You get awful paper cuts. My hands are always covered in paper cuts. It's just ridiculous.
It is weird that we as a society chose to go with paper, you know, when we had other options. We had stone tablets, you know?
Yeah, no.
We had skywriting.
Yeah, like smoke signals, you know, like semaphore, out of all the things.
I've been listening to too much murder podcasts, so like that's where I'm at.
Tell me about that, because I don't really know true crime very well. My friend and friend of the show, Yara, called in from the Magic Gardens in Philly, which is itself kind of a friend of the show in a way.
The thing is, like, I don't either. I never really got into true crime until my coworkers like wouldn't stop talking about this podcast, My Favorite Murder. And I was like, well, I'm not really into this, but like I like my coworkers and I want to know what they're into. So I started listening to it, and like it's just like so good and weird. And like I can only digest it when it's like told to me by two funny ladies that are like, one of them is just like kind of drinking wine throughout the whole thing. And like there's a cat in the room that's always meowing, because like otherwise like people, when they tell me like, oh yeah, I listened to this true crime podcast, and it's like they start saying these two guys, and I'm like, no, I don't want to fucking listen to two dudes talk about murder, because it's like, it's you guys, you are the ones doing this, so like fuck off.
Is that so? There's definitely, because there is definitely like a gendery component to it.
Oh, for sure.
Okay, I wasn't sure if it was just something I didn't know because I just didn't know it, or if it is like, I don't know. I think my initial impression of the murder podcast gender gap was just that women were more interested in the topic, which makes sense. You know, we care about the issues that affect us. But Yara added another dimension to my understanding here, which is that, you know, women want to hear about murder, but they want to hear about it from other women. Which seems obvious now, but I had not connected those dots before. What makes a good murder?
What makes a good murder? Well, I like the survival stories.
Oh, like survived murder.
Yeah, because like one of the best stories that they ever told was like about this woman, Mary Vincent, who like got her like arms cut off and shit, and like was like dumped into a ravine, and she like was able to like stop the bleeding and like climbed up this mountain and like literally like walked like naked on a highway until like she could find someone to help her, and like she's a fucking badass, and like it's the best. So like wow. I've heard some really bad ones, which like it's rare when I like have to stop the podcast because it's too much. And, you know, like people who are just like really crazy, like cult ones about cults are great because, you know, cults are fun. Until they're not.
Right. Tell me if this has ever been true for you. Like, there are times when I experience something like a movie or a piece of music or a book that I feel like it was written specifically for people just like me, and instead of liking it, I kind of resent it.
Ooh, yes. I feel that too. I can't think of an example of something like that.
I can think of two pieces of art that I have resented in such a manner, the movie 500 Days of Summer, and the book Ready Player One.
But yeah, especially with like movies.
Yeah, how old are you?
24.
So, like, you are entering now the demographic in which, like, everything is really just created for you. Like, you know, being 24 in Ukraine is maybe a little different, but I feel like, especially with mass entertainment, there are no borders anymore, you know?
Yeah.
Like, they make Avengers movies half for China and half for the United States now.
Yeah. But I don't know. I feel very weird in like my cultural, like how I grew up, because like on one hand I was born in like on the tail end of the 90s. In theory, I was supposed to miss all of the American culture that most like true 90s kids got to experience. But because the internet wasn't really a thing back then, and Ukraine was like a few years behind on culture, I got to experience all the good 90s kid stuff that people in America experienced. So it's like a weird thing where I'm younger than most 90s kids. I guess I classify as a millennial, but at the same time, culturally, I feel like I've gone through a lot of the same milestone entertainment things.
So what you're saying is that the lack of the internet in your early childhood created enough of a delay that, like, being a 7-year-old in 1998 or something was like being a 7-year-old in 1991.
Yes, exactly.
So the thing about Anton's culture gap is that at some point it had to close. Somewhere back there, internet speed and accessibility reached a saturation point. So if that happened in, say, 2010, that was Ukraine's cultural 2003. So what happened in 2004 to 2009? Did they just get skipped over? Hey Siri, remind me to send some Clap Your Hands Say Yeah records to Ukraine. Also, the millennial age gap is a lot wider than it seems like a lot of people think. The metric that they use on all the superhero tumblers that I follow is the Evans-Holland range, which is to say, you know, the oldest millennials are around Captain America's age, and the youngest millennials are around Spider-Man's age. Though I think a more Bless you, Mr. Moon. Though I think a more appropriate age range for this podcast is the Oberst Bridgers range. When you read like physical descriptions in books, does it work for you most of the time? I feel like my eyes just glaze over when a physical space is being described.
It totally depends on like the writer. Most of the time, I feel like I've like it's like instead of like actually picturing exactly what they say, like I just imagine like a box, and I just kind of populate it with like the weird little details that they put. So if they describe a couch, you know, I see a couch, but like in a white room.
This is Tim from Long Island. Have you ever seen the Lars von Trier movie Dogville?
No, I haven't.
There are good and bad things about Lars von Trier, but that movie takes place on this very minimal set, and the only objects that are there are the ones that are interacted with. So, like, in theory, it's a town, but there are only some walls, and there's only sporadic furniture, and the rest of it is just a wooden floor and a black background.
Oh, that's a really interesting way of dealing with that. It almost kind of reminds me of like a production of Our Town or something like that.
Yeah, that's one that I feel like that's the one that I skipped over in like my school English curriculum. So I'm vaguely aware of the fact that that's how Our Town works.
Yeah, it's something like that. I mean, it's been around like 7 years since I've last read it. But I mean, and also in high school I was a bit of a shithead, so like I think I probably like read every other page, maybe.
Yeah, well, everybody has their strategies, you know? There's too much reading. I think I've been thinking about homework again now because I have a son, and someday he will have to come home and do homework, and that's going to be just as bad, if not worse, for me than homework the first time around.
Oh yeah, because you're going to have to actually like help.
Yeah, I'm going to have to help, and I'm not going to want to do it. I'm going to want to play. So, I don't know. I can see myself being one of those parents who, like, rails against there being too much homework. Because I certainly had too much homework. I just didn't do it.
Oh, yeah, same. I graduated with like a 2.7 GPA in high school.
Mm-hmm.
And, even now I've adapted all the same strategies that I had in high school for avoiding work still exist now. It's just like in a much more, competent way. So it's
Yeah.
like, yeah.
I don't think that's unfair. I think that, like, that's part of what school is teaching you to do. I don't know. I feel like the most important thing about, like, getting a college degree is just proving that you can manage to figure out how to do it. Like, the stuff that you learn isn't important. It's more like it's like demonstrating effort.
Mm-hmm.
So if you could find a way to demonstrate effort in some other way, you probably don't ever need to go to college. Like, it's just about proving something.
Well, I mean, you would hope that, like, people who are in pre-med are eventually gonna learn something.
That's a scary thought. That's true.
Yeah.
One thing that's funny about having a baby is that your threshold for violence goes down to nothing. Like,
yeah.
nothing. You can't, like, I can't stomach anything. I don't want to see any blood. I don't want anyone to be angry, you know?
That's me too. And I don't even have a kid.
There are episodes of Frasier when Frasier and Martin are yelling at each other, and I'm like, too much.
You can, I mean, if you really look at Frasier's face, like behind the eyes, there is something sinister there.
Yeah, that's true.
You don't know what Mr. Crane is capable of.
Truthfully, I know that, like, Kelsey Grammer is probably someone with, like, really reprehensible politics,
Yeah,
and
I feel like he's a huge asshole.
I just don't want to know. Yeah, I don't want to know. I'm deliberately avoiding ever finding out.
Yeah, don't. You're just gonna be sad.
I mean, I feel like Niles is good, even in real life. David Hyde Pierce. I feel like he'd be a good dude. And
Yeah.
like, I follow Roz on Twitter, and she's good. She's on our side. But you would expect that from Roz.
Yeah. Honestly, like, everyone on that show is probably fine, except for Kelsey Grammer.
Well, see, I got worried too
Allegedly.
Yeah, I got worried about John Mahoney a little bit too, just because
Wait, who's that, is that the dad?
that's his dad. Yeah, because he died recently, and
Oh, right.
And the first obituary that I saw was on Fox News,
Oh,
and I was like,
oh.
huh. So I read most of it, but then, like, I have this weird, like, mostly now obliterated memory of, like, stopping before I got to the end, because I was like, I know Fox News is going to be like, oh, he said we should go back to family values or whatever the fuck.
Yeah, like, I'm surprised maybe if it would have started with, like, strong Fox News supporter.
Which, I mean, that's sort of, I mean, that like, is his character, but the actual person, you would hope doesn't support that narrative, because, like, he's British, and then he moved to
What?
Chicago. Yeah, he's
What?
British.
Holy shit. Can you kind of, like, tell when you watch him that, like, his accent is bad?
No, but apparently,
fake.
and I learned this from the Frasier Wikipedia page, apparently they...
Which you read every day?
Yeah. Apparently, they avoided having him say the word Wednesday, because he couldn't say it without his like, British accent.
That's... What about other days? Just
Other days were
Wednesday.
fine. So, within the fictional world of Frasier, like, Martin Crane never scheduled appointments on Wednesdays. I think that the differences between Canadians and Americans are probably over-exaggerated, right?
I think that's mostly true, yeah.
I
I think that's mostly the case.
And probably that's mostly true of, like, most people in the Northern Hemisphere. Like, mostly the same.
Yeah, I think culturally speaking, you can have more distinct divides maybe like in other areas. Like you can have like an urban rural divide, which I think is more significant even,
Sure.
or something along those lines.
Yeah.
That would make a lot more sense than saying, oh yeah, Canadians and Americans are very different. We're not really, as far as I've noticed anyway.
Do you feel funnier? Like, do you think if you'd been born like 60 miles further south, you'd just be less funny? Because that is one thing that Canadians seem to have going for them.
I think I'd be like sadder. I'd feel like more put upon, to be American than to be Canadian. Because being Canadian, like it's a real load off. You don't have to worry about too much.
Yeah,
you don't have like this pressure of being like from the world's largest, most oppressive nation kind of thing. We're lifted of that burden, which I think makes a difference to your national psyche.
You're the people that when we travel abroad, we pretend to be from there. That's what what Americans do.
Well, yeah, I mean, I can't blame you. It goes. We're pretty much 90% similar anyway. Nobody's going to be able to tell the difference.
Yeah,
nobody from another country anyway.
You add in some O sounds, just some slight extra O sounds, and you got it.
Yeah, exactly. You just say about instead of about. And
see, when you said it, they both sounded exactly the same. How would you characterize like Ukrainian humor?
Ukrainian humor. Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Are you at all familiar with Irish humor?
I mean, I think I know they do like I think they do a lot of one-man shows over there.
Compared to its like immediate neighbors, it's slightly a poorer country, and basically we have all the good stuff that everybody wants, like soil, farmland, good climate. The Nazis tried to take over that one time because prime real estate. Russia keeps trying to be at war with us because prime real estate. And so we keep being bullied by these big guys. And that's like the root, I think, of our sense of humor here in Ukraine. It's a lot like the Irish, because the Irish were oppressed and they had that famine. They have lots of potato jokes. We have lots of jokes about wheat because we also had a famine.
When was the Ukrainian wheat famine?
1930s, 1932 to 35, I think. I'm not good with history, but it's the 1930s. So
well, it's just like Americans can always like roughly approximate when something happened. They're like, yeah, like when was Franklin Pierce president? Somewhere in like the 1830 to 1870 range.
Yeah, American history though is short relatively.
That's true.
I just read Neil Gaiman's American Gods, and at the end there was an interview section with him, and he said that like there's this joke that he knows that's not really funny, but it's true, where in America, in the United Kingdom, 100 miles is a very long distance, and in America, 100 years is a very long time.
I guess for me, it's weird because a lot of people, my dad is definitely one of those people who's he makes a very big effort. Because my dad is pretty much, I mean, he's an interesting guy, but as far as demographically, he's just kind of your run-of-the-mill, like, straight cis white guy in his 40s.
Olivia was calling from California. I forget where in California. Somewhere near a Six Flags.
And so, he's one of those people that tries really, really hard vocally all the time to get involved and active in helping other groups of people and doing stuff for the world. And that's cool. It's mostly just like, interpersonal, social and whatever, but it's still really cool that he puts himself out there. But he expected me, because I'm transgender. And when I came out, he expected me to have all these issues and all these things for him to support and be like the shoulder to lean on. And I'm like, dude, I'm fine. And it kind of messed with him. And it was really weird because he was like expecting to have to play that role.
Yeah.
And, obviously, I talked with him about stuff and it was chill, but it was just kind of weird because I'm like, oh, now that I'm part of one of those groups of people that I guess others assume is having a hard time, which in some cases that's true, I'm not. So I guess it tripped him up and it was kind of funny.
I wonder about that sort of thing so much because I wonder about like being a cool dad you know?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I did not grow up with a, like, super supportive, super, like, woke dad. I don't know what happens when you are a parent who, like, a father anyway, who, like, fosters creativity and everything. Like, I worry that I'm gonna push too hard and I'm gonna make my son into, like, this, you know, I don't know, like, right-wing incel Jordan Peterson fan or something.
Oh man, let me give you some perspective, I guess. You know, my kind of, you know, parental background is you know, 80s goths still living in the real world who are very, very creative. My mom has an opera degree, and my dad was on TV, like local TV in Denver for like 5 years. These are the people that, you know, my dad always wanted to do stand-up comedy, but couldn't. Because he never found the time. And, you know, the very creative, very interesting kind of, you know, weird people. And it took me, you know, and my whole life, I have been ingrained in that kind of, you know, environment, that very, I don't know, that environment that you're talking about. And yet I never really felt pressured by it. I think if you're like, if you're a respectful person and whatever your kid does, as long as it's, you know, safe and, you know, an activity, and you're just supportive of them, then honestly, all that happens is you get to be the cool dad who has all these traits, but it's not, you know, it's not forced on your kids, you know.
That's great. That's so, like, reassuring.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think that, you know, and obviously, you know, it's not like I know you, but you seem like a cool guy. Hey, I think that you don't seem like the kind of person who would, like, you know, thrust something upon your kid to the point where it would be an issue, you know, or a bad thing.
I know that it may seem trivial to almost everybody but me, but realizing that I didn't have to fear the cool dad label, that was huge for me. What an unexpected consequence of this office hours thing. So lately, whenever I've been home, it's either been dangerously hot or there's been a raging thunderstorm, which is very thematically rich. Like, if I were in an Emily Bronte novel, it'd be perfect, but it's not really ideal conditions for using a microphone or operating my old computer. Also, my front lawn looks like I went to prison a year ago, but that's neither here nor there. What is here, and also there, is the fact that I haven't been able to record office hours in a while. Yeah. And it's too bad, too, because I feel like it was going really well and only a little bit like I was deputizing fans of the podcast to be my therapist. But, you know, the good news is it's getting cooler out, and I'm looking forward to cracking open a pumpkin beer and looking out at the changing leaves and taking more calls. So, call in. I'm ZC Little on Skype, and I usually announce when I'm doing office hours on Twitter and Instagram. I'm looking forward to it. Also, in the continued spirit of democracy, if you make music or other sounds like that, send them in. Office Hours episodes seem like an ideal place to showcase music not made by me and Morgan. Not that we can't fill the space. So also, in the spirit of democracy, if you make videos or podcasts and you want some music or sounds from me, let me know. I'll do it. I've been doing it for people, and it's been great. Arlo and I are going to go play piano now, so thank you for listening. We'll be back soon.
All right, boys, here's where money talks.